Welcome into the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G, and we are getting you started with the finest play of the day. Oh my goodness, Seth Williams saying howdy doody to that defensive back and then takes out the cameraman for good measure. We hope he is okay, but you know what? Seth just isn't necessarily concerned with that DB, and we aren't either. This is the College Football Show. Once again, Treavor Scales, Jason Fitz. We are multi-pronged in our approach and our responsibility. Our approach is that we are hitting you on Twitter, the ESPN app, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, anywhere where you can just pull us up, we there. You know what I mean? And then our responsibility is that we are getting you caught up on all the things that have happened, all the things that are going down, and all the things that are soon to come in Week 4 of college football. Jason, how you doing?
We have so much to get into tonight.
Goodness,
but
yes.
And obviously, you got a game. For anyone that's new to watching Treavor and I work together, one of my favorite things about Saturday is Treavor is passionate about one particular team. That particular team is playing right now. We'll let it reveal as the game goes on. It's part of the fun. The other thing that I'm passionate about is that shirt, my friend, because for anybody looking that thinks it's a medium, it is not. That is a large shirt on a beefy man that spends that time. You still got it. I'm telling you, if somebody handed you the rock, you could still run it. That's all I'm saying.
I'll give you about 2 carries. That's all I got left.
Yeah, but that's two more carries than I get. Like, you come running at me with that shirt on. I'm like, I got nothing. I got nothing. You look good, my friend.
Fair enough. I appreciate it. You know who else looked good today? Kansas State, eventually. And that is what we're going to start talking some football with. The Big 12, frankly, has a lot going on, and it began with the biggest upset of the day from Kansas State. They were visiting Norman, and we picked things up. Wildcats making it 14-7 with a Skylar Thompson to Sebastian Taylor score, 39 yards through the air, one of 4 total touchdowns for Thompson on the day. That was his only passing touchdown. He scored 3 more on the ground. And look, Oklahoma was up 35-14 at one point, but you felt something was turning around once they got this blocked punt. And Kansas State was just relentless in the second half, outgaining Oklahoma 288 yards to 98 yards in the second half. Just an incredible effort offensively, and it comes through here. One of the greatest names for a running back in all of college football, Deuce Vaughn. 38-yard score. Kansas State ties it at 35, and then True on the field goal. Their first road win over an AP top 3 opponent in program history. Their second straight upset of OU. And again, Wildcats down 8 dudes off their 2 deep.
All right, let's go to some other Wildcats ranked up match. The SEC is back. Kentucky and Auburn. Gus Malzahn taking it there. Less than 30 seconds in the first half. Kentucky from the 1-yard line. Terry Wilson rolls to right, picked off by the junior Roger McCreary, who takes it all the way back. 99 yards to the house, but look at that. Look, he's dancing on the sidelines. He's doing ballet. He's celebrating. The problem is, called back there for targeting. Can't do that. Gotta stop cheating. Oh, Malzahn cannot believe it. He was angry. Less than 6 minutes left in the third. Auburn football from the 11-yard line. Bo knows it. Drops back, jumps that jump ball. Seth Williams comes down with it for the touchdown. Auburn up 15-7. This was a close game back and forth. Tigers offense not done. Knicks from the 4-yard line. You saw it to start the show. He says, get off of my grill. Not up in here. Not you, Fat Jesus. Gets that big touchdown, 29-13. Big win for Auburn to start the season.
The flex afterwards just...
All right, sticking in the SEC, we got Florida Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin in his debut as head coach of Ole Miss, taking on Dan Mullen and the number 5 Florida Gators. Under 6 to go in the first. Gator ball from the 1. Kyle Trask rolls to the right, finds Kyle, putting on the pits for the early score. See what I did there? Gators up 7-0. We're just getting started with that. 12 seconds left in the first half. Florida up 21-14. Trask gets some pits in again in the end zone. Gators go up 28-14. Those two were having some magic. Beginning of the third quarter, Gators ball. Trask finds who helped? He ain't the Pitts. See, we got all these Pitts jokes. They're going to keep coming. 71 yards to the end zone. Both Kyles are fired up after a great performance. Trask ended his day with 6 tutties. Ties the SEC conference record for the opener. 4 of those touchdowns to Pitt. Florida wins big, 51-35.
51 points in the opening weekend. ACC ball, a top 25 matchup between number 24 Louisville and number 21 Pittsburgh. And Pitt rocking those silver and black uniforms, but it's Louisville who gets off to the races here. My goodness, Javian Hawkins finds the gap, a 75-yard score, but they were still down by 6 after that. Pitt down by 4 here. 3 minutes left in the half, and Pickett finds Taser Mack who somehow, wait a minute, everybody else thought he was down. He wasn't. Refs agreed with him. He heads on to the crib. 6 on the board. Pitt takes the lead, 20-17 there. And then last chance for Louisville. Down 3. Cunningham pass intercepted by Jason Pinnock. And Pitt would hold on to win 23-20. Their 3-0 start. First since 2014. They finished 6-7 that year. So hopefully it's a little better.
All right, in the last game on this one, this is a doozy going on right now. LSU's defense didn't show up, but they're still giving a heck of a game against Mississippi State. This one has been all offense. You see the stat line there. KJ Costello, 30 of 50. That's not a misprint. 498 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And Kylan Hill, I mean, he's gotten it done as well. So Mike Leach's offense is making all of the noise you would expect. But let's acknowledge some significant losses for LSU overall. And then on top of that, a significant news break today.
Without question. With the Derek Stingley Jr., overnight was hospital Friday night. A non-COVID related sickness, according to reports. But he was out, and that is a large part as to why we're looking at this air raid offense from Mike Leach and the Mississippi State Bulldogs really just take over. One of many things going on in the SEC.
Now, we're not blind and dumb here. We know what you're doing. You're watching us while you're watching games. We will keep you updated. We got the games going on here. We're going to be watching them, too. We'll be reacting live. So as this game continues to unfold, we will get you breaking on it because obviously a lot of eyes on LSU. But let's get to Trev's takeaways, one of my favorite things we get to do every week.
Got a couple takeaways that we got to discuss, and I think the first of which is the Big 12 being in shambles. And it's for no other reason than what we saw from Oklahoma today. I think what was most prevalent from that performance was that their defense continues to struggle. 4 turnovers for Kansas State, 0 for the Oklahoma Sooners. And you're not going to be able to get that done, especially in Big 12 play, where you're going to have high-powered offenses week after week. K-State not being the most prominent of those offenses, you're going to have to find a way to get things going defensively.
I totally agree with you, by the way. And look, we're used to an annual sort of meltdown for Oklahoma. It happens every year. I have to remind everybody, though, Spencer Rattler, the quarterback for Oklahoma, didn't have necessarily a great day, didn't protect the football as well as they would hope. But it reminds me a little bit of Bo Nix last year. Bo Nix last year in week 1 against Oregon, you remember, had such a huge moment that we all decided Bo Nix was immediately going to be the second coming. Now, it turned out his freshman year was very up and down at times because, I don't know, he's a freshman. Spencer Rattler also is a freshman. Like, there is this moment for me where we got to pull back a little bit of what we expect. This isn't Jalen Hurts. This isn't Kyler Murray. This isn't somebody that transferred in. Right. This isn't somebody with a ton of experience that's coming in. This is somebody that's coming in and learning on the job. That's part of what's exciting long-term for Oklahoma, but that's part of what makes things difficult. Also, difficult to watch. Those jerseys were ugly. I don't care what you say.
What? No. The cream and
the numbers are too big. Like, the numbers are too big.
A nitpicky thing to say is trash about the uniform. The numbers are too big. We're not going to touch on the awesome color scheme. The
colors were okay.
It was fantastic. The cream helped. You're out of your mind. But to get back to the subject at hand, I just want to also say, look, the 3 interceptions from Spencer Rattler, yes, were alarming in a sense. But again, as you said, let's kind of approach this with a little bit of nuance. You're going to get a lot of good, which you got from Spencer in the first half, particularly. But you're also going to get some bad moments that you're hoping Lincoln Riley can get in his ear and just correct, settle him down, make sure he gets right for the rest of the season, because we expect the Sooners to sort of course correct, and then there's plenty of time to do so.
One thing, this is a tease to later in the show. We've decided it's never too early to start revealing, who we would have or who I would have.
I was really scared you were going to stop after the word revealing. I didn't know where you were going.
Things are getting weird on a Saturday night. Now, we are going to start revealing our top 4, and I'll be honest, I sent out this morning, I was like, hey, guys, here's where I think my top 4 is going to land out. Oklahoma was in that, so I'm glad we didn't do that this morning on Countdown to Game Day, because I would be eating all sorts of crow in a delicious crow pie at this point. So thank you, Oklahoma. That's all I can expect.
That's fair enough. You know what? I also I think I do have my fair share of crow to eat as well. Shout out to our director, Stacy, big Florida guy. I want to acknowledge the fact that I thought they were going to be the dumpster fire that set off in their own stadium last week, but they are something special, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. 51 points on the opening weekend. Couple quick stats to give on that. 51 points in the season opener against Ole Miss ranks as 3rd most points against an SEC team since 2010 for Florida. They also had 642 yards on offense, a school record against an SEC opponent. And look, it boils down to this: Kyle Trask and my man Dan Mullen. I blanked on the name.
Yeah, no,
Dan Mullen.
early in the season.
The second year of that relationship is really sort of really bring forth the fruit that you would expect from a veteran quarterback and a head coach that has a propensity to sort of do this wherever he lands.
Well, and one of the more interesting matchups that we're going to see, or I say moments we're going to be looking at all year, is how good Florida can be, because Florida has, like any team that's sitting at the top of the SEC, a shot, a path that could take them to the college football playoff. It's all there in front of them. The other thing, though, is you look at the other side of this matchup. Now, we know that Lane Kiffin has got a long way to go before he builds that program in his image, but let's also acknowledge one thing. I mean, I don't have a favorite college football team, so hear me loudly when I say that. But I lived in SEC country for a very long time. I am well aware of how much a lot of SEC country has a chip on their shoulder that's anti-Lane. What we saw in this game, I think we're going to see a lot of this year. We're going to see teams look around and saying, hey, if I got a shot to give it to Lane Kiffin, I'm going to give it to him in every way I possibly can. We got a little taste of that because Florida could have eased up earlier than they did. But the fact is, even after Trask went out, his backup comes in, is still throwing up video game numbers. That shows you how potent this Florida team is going to be this year.
And again, it's a lot a testament to Dan Mullen and what he's brought in offensively from a mind standpoint, and just the executional ability by that Florida offensive roster.
I can only imagine if somebody in the room were a Georgia fan, they might be a little puckered up after seeing seeing what Florida looked like.
Yeah, and also I got lemon booty after the Georgia Bulldogs, what they've put forth.
Wait, lemon booty?
Lemon booty. Lemon. I don't need to go into the explanation of that, but that is what we're coining.
Oh, my God.
The college football show presented by AT&T 5G. As soon as Fitz regathers himself, we're going to move to
I'm going to be a professional if I can stop crying. Oh, my God. Okay. That's why I love Treavor Scales. Treavor Scales, Days and Fitz. We're going to get you we got a ton of games to get to. We're going to show you a bunch more highlights. Also, keep in mind, we will keep you going updated on the games that are going right now. It is still tied at 34 with Mississippi State and LSU. So we'll keep you updated on that. About 8 to go in the fourth quarter. But there is also some other college football news to get to. And we sort of call this, with respect, COVID football, because every single week we're going to have COVID updates. We have more cancellations this week. Everybody's aware of Notre Dame cancellations. That also led to trickle downs as it affected more teams, obviously, from it. But the big news is the Pac-12 is coming back.
Yes.
And that was, they were able to take a vote on Thursday. They were able to get it done on Thursday. This is a really incredible moment for the kids that fought hard to play. We'll say that. And I think that's key in this discussion because, I had the chance on College Football Live on ESPN on Friday to talk to Keaton Slovis, quarterback at USC. And I asked him, how concerned are you about long-term effects and who are you talking to? And he said straight up, what he's thinking about is what the medical experts are telling him at USC. So they're going to play a 7-game conference schedule beginning November 6th. Every Pac-12 team will play 5 opponents in its division and a divisional crossover game. Conference championship game is December 18th. But this is the important thing. No indication yet if they'll be eligible for the CFP. That's significant because there's $66 million on the line. And Trev, that's why I'm going to continue to say, at some point, I am waiting to hear from the College Football Playoff how many games must be played. One thing to keep in mind is that in men's college basketball, there's a minimum number of games that must be played. Most years, I believe it's 27. This year, they shrunk it to 13. You got to play 13 to qualify for the tournament, right? I need the playoff committee to tell us now what that minimum number is because between cancellations and postponements of seasons, we have no idea how many games we're going to get.
I will say that the difference between this is that it's not necessarily an NCAA sanctioned event, so they're not going to be held to the same sort of barometers that those sets of events are. So they have a little bit more leeway. So as we expand this out to the conversation of the entire Power 5, we now have the exact sort of schedule layout for each of them. You see Big Ten's playing the 8+1, which is 8 straight through conference games, and then that +1 is the title weekend of December 18th. Just like the Pac-12, they are also jammed up against it as far as not having any wiggle room. SEC, 10 straight. We know everybody else is just sort of flowing out through their schedule as they can.
Also an important note, and I'll use Colorado as an example. The county of Boulder, in Boulder, Colorado, home of the Buffaloes, right, a Pac-12 school.
Yep.
2 hours before the vote was announced, that county came out and made gatherings of college students between the ages of 18 and 22 illegal currently. You can't do it. So all of a sudden, what we have to remember is that even though the Pac-12 has told us they are going to play, there are still municipal governments that will have to decide if they are okay with that. And we don't have that answer. So the Pac-12 has said they have a plan. But I just got to caution everybody that the California government can still come in. Colorado still has to make their statement. So nothing is really known right now.
It's such a fluid situation that we're going to have to kind of work through as we've done the entirety of this season for just about every week, as you mentioned. The cancellations, Notre Dame against Wake Forest, Tulsa and Arkansas State, North Texas and Houston, who Houston has still not seen the field yet. Georgia State and Charlotte and South Florida taking on Florida Atlantic. All of these games postponed, canceled in some form or fashion, and it's just a part of what we're going through as a sport category.
Walk me through your process. And for anyone that doesn't know, Treavor Scales is my guy. Not only do I love him to death as a human being, but also was an incredibly successful running back for Harvard. So walk me through your process if you play for Houston, where 4 straight times you've had games canceled because your opponent wasn't able to play. So you're getting amped, you're getting ready, and you're doing all the right things, but 4 straight weeks you don't get to see the field. How do you stay focused?
It becomes exhausting in a sense. I can only imagine. It's preseason for that long. We're probably running up on, for that Houston program, 8 weeks of preseason. Your body's used to hitting the same guys as far as on your own roster for maybe 4 weeks straight, and you can kind of get yourself mentally wrapped around the fact that I have an opponent in another jersey coming up in about a month. For Houston, they have not had that luxury now for a full 2 months, it feels like. And now, what does it look like when you set foot against an opponent that you finally game planned against? At least the benefit of preseason too is you're able to lock in on a singular opponent for those last 2 weeks or last week of preseason. You don't know when you're going to set foot on the field at this point, so I can't imagine the scramble drill that it will be to prep for whatever opponent ends up being the week 1 for them.
He's Treavor Scales. I'm Jason Fitz. I want to make sure that you get a score update. Mississippi State has kicked a field goal. It is now 37-34. There's about 7 or so minutes left. You got the stats there. And again, if you're just joining us, this is all about Mike Leach's offense. Has been absolutely incredible. Part of that, I think, is Mike Leach. Part of that is obviously the missing pieces for LSU, and it's a rebuilt LSU team. For anyone that didn't keep up during the offseason, new defensive coordinator, new passing coordinator, Scott Linehan, who comes into LSU. You're talking about a new quarterback. You're talking about only 5 returning starters, which is the lowest of any team in the SEC. So a lot of change at LSU. We don't know what to expect. They're still, though, considered to be the number 6 team, and they have struggled mightily in this game. They've got the ball. They're at their own about 33-yard line. We will keep you updated as this game goes on. But Treavor, I think everybody at LSU is a little nervous about this one.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think it was to be expected to an extent as far as just the drop-off, because you don't have the all felt like decade player in Joe Burrow, and so many other pieces on that team. They expected a bit of a drop-off, but even this is a little bit concerning defensively in particular. If I may pivot back to the COVID conversation, we did have an update news-wise in that Mike Norvell 2 weeks ago tested positive for COVID-19. And so that took him out for the bye week that they had in Florida State as a head coach position, but also against this game against Miami tonight. How do you see that sort of affecting this Florida State Seminole team?
Well, it's going to be really interesting because I think Florida's outmatched by Miami. And we'll make our predictions later. We're going to get into a lot with this game. But, Florida State needed all the help that they could get against Miami, as strong as Miami's been playing early on. So there's just this level of continuity for Mike Norvell that matters. Now, I talked to some guys around the program this week, and one thing that was stressed is that Mike Norvell has been a part of all of the meetings from a distance. So a lot of Skyping, a lot of FaceTiming, a lot of Zooming. We're all used to that. But you can speak to this as a player. There's a difference between that and having that guy right there, and there's a difference between that and having that guy on the sidelines for you as well.
Without a doubt. It certainly has an impact in a sense in that just the personal relationship that you have with the coach kind of throws you when he's not around. We experienced something similar at Harvard where Coach Tim Murphy was out for an extended period of time. You have that associate head coach that you always know to be sort of second in command, if you will, slide right in there and take care of business. But it's just a void, and it's a very apparent void when your head man is no longer around. But let's get a little bit further into the discussion for our primetime matchup that will air tonight, 7:30 p.m. on ABC. And, okay, why don't we just go ahead and set the table a little bit with a bit of a montage.
Our players understand what's on the line when Florida State comes to town.
50 years from now, people are going to be asking, hey, man, did you beat Florida State?
That's what makes college football fun, is rivalries like these.
It's the game you must win in Miami. Those games will follow you through your whole life.
The opportunity to go and play our in-state rivalries is always huge.
Let's rally the troops. Let's rally the troops.
This is the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. Treavor Scales, Jason Fitz holding you down here, man. And what's
We got fancy graphics.
Listen. This is shout out Stacey again.
I mean, this is big time
on the background. But again, this is our primetime preview portion of the program. Wow, alliteration, unintentional. I had no idea that was going to come out that way. 7:30 p.m., ABC. Make sure you check into your app, authenticate your cable provider, and all that fun stuff so you can check this game out, our primetime matchup. But for now, let's check in with Molly McGrath, who's there.
Well, Florida State has waited 2 weeks since their last game, a loss to Georgia Tech. It looks like they're going to have to wait a little bit longer. They just announced here in Miami that there is severe weather in the area, so I'm going to go hide out somewhere safe. But Florida State, of course, is playing tonight without their head coach, Mike Norvell, who's home in isolation after testing positive for the coronavirus. And they're going up against one of the most dynamic offenses in college football. In their first game, Miami ran the ball like crazy. Second game, it was explosive plays in the passing game. It'll be interesting to see what Miami offense we see tonight when we finally get going here in Florida.
Soon to be mama, Molly McGrath. Appreciate that very much so.
Stay safe out there, Molly, especially with the weather. Let me ask you a question, because we've had the chance over the last couple of weeks to talk a lot about De'Aaron King. I can't figure out if we're talking about De'Aaron King because he's epic, or are we talking about De'Aaron King because, frankly, Miami has been without a quarterback as capable as him for so long. I feel like some fan bases, they get so used to mediocrity at a position that when they get somebody that is obviously not that's much better than that, I wonder if we've let the hype train go a little bit too far on where he is. What are your thoughts?
I mean, look, dude, he was a Heisman candidate when he was at Houston before he got injured. So I don't want to take anything away from him. But him being in that Miami uniform certainly amps up the amount of critique we're going to provide for him and what we're going to look for from him on a week-to-week basis. This dude is a dynamic player, though.
And kudos, by the way. You mentioned the Houston portion of it. He was a Heisman candidate there. He was spectacular. Let's not get it twisted. Houston had him and had an opportunity to do something special with him. And then they decided that they were going to try and pull a little trickery. They were basically asking him to redshirt, and as a result of a redshirt, their sales pitch was, we're going to get you more pro-ready. And I'm not sure that sat well with him, because not only did he end up not playing, but then obviously he transferred. But there were a lot of other kids within that Houston program that were frustrated at the time because they were putting their butts on the line, and instead of having their best players to play with, suddenly it felt like they were going JV to sort of stack themselves for a year or two down the road. I can't imagine Houston looks back at that and doesn't wonder if they could have handled that situation differently.
You have to. As Dana Holgorsen is a head coach, you have to look at it and say, no, you can't look at your roster and say we're going to tank because we lost these first couple of games and our guy got hurt, right? We can't just outright say that. If you are going to ask the very most of your players every single day that they come out to a workout, a practice, every film and meeting session that they have, you need to be willing to put out the very best product that you can, right? And that extends to who you decide to start on a week-to-week basis.
Well, and I think some of the conversation about, hey, we're going to get you more pro-ready, that is, it's delicate when you're talking to a player about how to get them to the next level. But let's acknowledge that there's been a massive change in quarterback play at the NFL level. I know we're a college football show, but these kids are watching the NFL, right? And so you're looking at it and saying, man, what are we seeing right now? And if you're watching the NFL, you're seeing spread concept, you're seeing a lot of the same sort of quick decisions, pre-designed reads. You're seeing all of these things come in from the college game to the NFL. And if I'm a kid sitting there that I know I have special ability, I no longer have to think, yeah, but can I transition how I play? I'm looking at it saying, nah, when I get to play on Sunday, coaches are actually going to do what the simplest thing in the world. They're going to look at their teams. They're going to figure out how to use them to the best of their ability. They're going to alter their scheme to them. Like, that seems pretty simple, but it's finally happening in the NFL. So if I'm De'Aaron King, the fact that you're asking me to sit, that even frustrates me more, because I'm looking at dual threat quarterbacks, as much as people hate that phrase. I'm looking at dual threat quarterbacks on Sunday having a tremendous amount of success. So I want to get on the field right now.
Oh, without question. There ain't no way you can't find an offensive coordinator that can't build around me. You see this athletic skill set I got? But in any case, if feels like Brett Lashley has done just that down in Miami, right? They've turned this, as Molly said, this offense is dynamic. We saw 2+ plays of 75-yard touchdowns for the Miami offense last week. Brett Lashley has sort of figured out what D'Eriq King is and has maximized on it.
Well, and you know, when you start talking about Rhett and what he's done with this offense particularly, you know, I know it's such an easy comp for everybody to make now, and I'm sorry. I will apologize for that. But when you think about Lamar Jackson, right, and we think about Jackson's ability to not only run the ball, but then throw the ball dynamically and how he continues to impress there and continues to grow there, I'll admit, man, I was wrong. Like, when you and I have talked about D'Eriq King over the last few weeks, I've said, well, why throw the ball more? Stick to what he does. But realistically, that's not true. I mean, you've seen it. You've watched it. His growth as a passer has been absolutely incredible, even in the first few weeks. So I'm looking at Miami and saying, the way he's growing, I'm not sure what slows that down.
Oh, without question. It's going to take some time for any defense to figure out exactly what he's going to do on a week-to-week basis. But that's part of what you were speaking to with Lamar Jackson and what his sort of dynamic play brings to the game, and how that really does force defenses to guess on every single outing. How exactly are we going to plan to stop him? And if we can't stop him, how are we going to prevent him from just going absolutely nuts on our defense? So it's just it's a matter of managing, and on the offensive side of the ball, Brett Lashley continues to be creative, because we even saw in last week's, I mentioned those 2 75-yard touchdowns. They were the exact same formation. Motion was the same, but it was 2 different types of plays that ended in the same result of touchdowns.
Speaking of touchdowns, we just got a big one in the Mississippi State game against LSU. They were already up by 3, and it looks like they have now scored another touchdown. And by the way, the quarterback there at Mississippi State, Costello, they showed the graphic a little bit ago, has now set a single game passing yardage record in SEC history. So he is absolutely phenomenal. It is 44-34 with 3:40 left. He got it there. And this is not a misprint. You're looking at 36-60 for 623 and 5 touchdowns. I mean, they are getting offense wherever they want it from, however they want it from, and this is not the way that LSU hoped that they would start their title defense.
Air raid offense, welcome to the SEC. Like, we knew that there was going to be a certain level of productivity. I don't think that anybody foresaw 623 yards in the first outing for him.
No, and you know what else nobody saw coming? A celebrity guest picker. We got our first celebrity guest picker on the couch.
Let's go.
We got Baby Yoda.
Who better to start this thing off, right?
I mean, let's talk about the sign. Hi, Mom. Send frogs. You feel good about it?
I do. I think it's appropriate. It's accurate. My man enjoys the delicacy of frogs. One that, look, I've had frog legs down in Florida fried. Great. Tastes like chicken, like legitimately. But I can't say that I'm eating frogs the same way my man's is here.
Well, and by the way, in case you can't tell, stay on target. I am a massive Star Wars fan. You can check out the Mandalorian trailer. Look at that. The Mandalorian trailer's out there now on Disney Plus, and that's obviously where you're going to check out season 2. I think we were all a little hyped, and when I say a little hyped, I mean screaming like small children when we saw the trailer for it. The Mandalorian has been absolutely one of the best things Star Wars has done.
Oh, even the audio cues. Just let that ride.
You know, it's so phenomenal. Of everything I accomplished in my music career, I'll tell you this quick.
Please.
Of everything I accomplished in my music career that I'm very proud of, one of the craziest moments was I was playing for a country guy named Phil Vassar, and we performed with the Boston Pops. And I got to write all of the string arrangements that the entire Boston Pops played. And John Williams, like, we sat backstage and hung out forever all day. And so at my house, I've got a score signed by John Williams.
Stop it.
That, like, to this day, I still geek over every time I see it. I'm like, I met John Williams. I watched him do the whole Star Wars thing. Oh,
just immaculate.
So let's since we got a celebrity picker, let's get our picks in for tonight's primetime game.
Yes,
you want to go first?
I will absolutely start it off, man, and it's pretty simple. We talk so much about that Miami offense, and who am I to go against it at this point? I figure they keep rolling, man. D'Eriq King has a big night, and Miami wins.
All right, I am also going to join you on that. I'm pretty confident in Miami here, and I've become a believer. And look, I'll admit, screaming it at the mountaintops, I've doubted so many times. All right, is this the week we're going to see something different? I don't think so. I think this is just going to be another rollover. I think it's a big win for Miami. So, Skip, wait, Baby Yoda's going to talk to me here.
Oh.
Oh. Oh. I'm getting some knowledge here.
Jedi communication.
Oh, yeah. I wore the shirt. You didn't. He's picked favorites. I mean, this is okay. So this is what Baby Yoda has told me. He's told me it's about the other side of the matchup.
Really?
He's told me it's about great teachers. All right. And that Mike Norvell not being on the sideline to actually be there to call the plays, that as a great teacher, he knows how to work that offense around his best strengths. He's not going to be on the sideline. You can't be a Jedi Master if you don't have a Jedi Master on the sideline to teach you. Baby Yoda says that we should go Miami because of the Mike Norvell.
He got all of that to you.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Well, you're welcome, America. I mean, it's a gift. Right?
I mean, I'm shocked.
It's
I
really.
didn't expect much after I saw the Sin Frog sign, but I am shocked in a
I am a little curious. Like, did he actually pick up the Sharpie to write the sign, or did he just use like a Jedi mind trick
Nothing
to
makes
levitate
sense
it
anymore. Nothing makes sense anymore.
What does make sense, again, is you can check out, obviously, The Mandalorian on Disney Plus.
October 30th.
We are really openly shilling for an opportunity to do a watch party where we can just geek out and dress in costume. I still just want to dress like someday as Chewbacca and then have like Ryan Hollins dress with me as Han Solo so that we can be reverse of what everybody expects.
I was going to make a hype joke, but you made it for us.
You're welcome. All right, let's get back to football.
We can talk about football. Jason already made the short joke. We can make that joke amongst each other because we're both sub-6-foot gang. Talking more football, checking on another top 25 ranked matchup, Cincinnati and Army. First drive of the game for the Bearcats. Desmond Ridder rolling right, looking to pitch the ball. Rolling left, little option look, and but man's Jabari Moore stepped right on in front of it. Hell of a heads-up play from him, and then under 8 minutes to go in the half, Ridder to Michael Young Jr. Bearcats go up 10-7. So they figured out that offense just a little bit. Jump ahead to the third quarter, Cincy possession. Riddler to Jerome Ford, easy buckets, 4-yard score. Bearcats roll 24-10 over Army.
By the way, these are two teams that aren't getting enough hype. I still think they're both going to be very good.
I like that.
I think they're both going to be very good. Speaking of very good, the way I say Raging Cajuns has really started to take over, at least for me. Georgia Southern going against number 19, Louisiana. Under a minute left, Eagles possession. Kalen Hood finds Shea Wirtz for the 28-yard touchdown. Georgia Southern goes up 18-17 after successfully converting the two-point conversion. Ensuing possession for the Raging Cajuns. Levi Lewis finds Trey Regis, who takes it all the way to the 36-yard line. Huge gain. That gives Nate Snyder the chance from 53. Woo. You are talking about get there, son. Get there. 53 yards. The Raging Cajuns get the 20-18 win. Louisiana now 3-0, although I'm not sure that we didn't get overhyped after week one because they haven't looked as good the last couple of weeks. We'll see how that looks moving forward.
From the Sun Belt, Fun Belt, back to the Big 12. West Virginia taking on number 15, Oklahoma State. Beginning of the second quarter is where we pick things up. Cal Pokes with the ball. Low Brown, right up the gut, finds a seamer. He is to the crib. 66-yard score. OK State up 7-0. Ensuing drive for the Mountaineers. Jared Dodge, pressure. Tyron Irby recovers the fumble. Scoop. Can you score, big fella? Rumble, big dog, rumble. 56 yards on the fumble return, and OK State is up and rolling 14-0 at that point. Now, 5 minutes left, under 5 left in the first half. West Virginia on the move. Winston Wright Jr., middle of the defense, finds a crease and speeds off to the races. But the Cowpokes would hold on. They win 27-13.
All right, I'm going to give the news on this one because Treavor can't be professional. All right, Georgia taking on Arkansas. Sam Pittman's head coaching debut for first quarter, under 9 minutes left. Razorbacks possession. Felipe Franks, that's right. He plays for Arkansas now. Rolls out to his right, connects with Traylon Burks down the sideline. A 49-yard touchdown. Razorbacks go up early, 7-0, which took his blood pressure a little bit high for my co-host here. So let's take it to the beginning of the second quarter. Arkansas ball. Razorbacks attempt a double reverse.
Hey now!
That did not go well. Georgia gets 2 points on the, it depends on who you're rooting for. Georgia gets 2 points on the boards with the safety. This one was close for a long time, and then Arkansas forgot that you're not supposed to give the other team the ball. That's a big, big no-no. Georgia starts running away with it. It is 34-10 now with 3:59 to go. So we'll keep you updated on everything else. Also, Mississippi State, LSU, that's our big upset of the day. It looks like it's going to happen. There's under a minute to go in this game, 44-34. The decimated LSU team, yes, but they are about to lose to Mississippi State in Mike Leach's debut. Congratulations to Coach Leach. I can only wait for the press conference, which is going to be a delight.
It's going to be a delight, absolutely. Just under a minute to go. And again, we can't speak highly enough. It's just KJ Costello's command of that offense, that air raid offense. Both offenses looked shaky to start this thing off, but they kind of came together, and you got the numbers there. But let's talk a little SEC.
We're ready to play. This is one game of many we've got to play in a really tough road.
Very competitive game against a top 10 team, so really big test for us.
We're just ready to play. It's been a long time.
I feel like we haven't played in 2 years.
We coming out playing against the national champions. We definitely got a lot of pressure on this game.
It may be different than usual, but everyone's excited for football to be back.
All players love playing games in front of enthusiastic fans.
Regardless of who's out there, I think it's important for guys to have high energy.
The emotion and excitement of the game is going to change to some degree.
That's our job as coaches and players to make it the atmosphere. That's what we have to worry about right now.
10-game SEC season.
Brutal.
The competition level is very high.
It's physical. It's the SEC. It's going to be real physical.
Every second is very competitive in the SEC. You got to win. The expectations are high.
High energy, high competitive nature.
The physicality.
Toughness, pure toughness and strength.
The SEC banging on each other, the best of the best, and see who rises to the top.
The competition.
We're playing at the top of the league day in, day out, every week.
It's going to come down to discipline and who wants it more.
We're all hungry right now, and we're going to stay hungry throughout the season.
We're coming to prove that last year wasn't a fluke. We're creating a dynasty.
We all got this one goal, and that's to win the national championship. So that's what we're going to go out there to do.
This is the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. Treavor Scales, Jason Fitz here with you. We are responsible for getting you caught up on the day's events, letting you know what's going down right now and what is to come in our primetime matchup between FSU and Miami on ABC, 7:30 kick. But that's just for your knowledge. We are also updating you on the game LSU is in right now. 10 points, down 10 points, 22 seconds left, but they are knocking on the door. It would take a lot of magic to kind of get this win out of the hat, but we'll see what they can do. But this sort of spins into, as you look at the scoreboard there, into the discussion of the SEC at large and who is going to reign supreme. I think we have our usual suspects in mind in LSU, Bama, and Georgia, but with LSU trailing now, in large part due to what they lost on that roster, who exactly can you expect to step in and really sort of take command in this 10-game sprint of a season?
I think we also are going to have to figure out who LSU is, right? Like, there's part of this is about the number of losses of players, but for anybody that's super into analytics, I'm going to give you the best stat you've ever heard in just a second. You can see here the production lost 17 starters, 94% of their passing yards, their reception yards is way down. I mean, you're talking about stars went on to the NFL draft, but the loss of Joe Brady, their passing coordinator, is significant. And Brad Edwards, our great analytics and host with college football, gave me this nugget yesterday. If you look back last year, Joe Brady had the most aggressive offense in the country. On first down, he threw more than any other coordinator in the country, and they threw more aggressively, further downfield, than any other coordinator in the country. The new passing game coordinator for LSU is Scott Linehan, who many NFL fans will remember. But that's significant. In his NFL time, no coordinator threw less on first down than Scott Linehan. Wow. So we're going to find out quickly whose offense this really is. Is this Linehan's offense? Is this Coach O's offense? I don't know that we got a great indication of it because this turned into such a shootout, but I think that's a huge factor in this game.
Another coaching change to keep in mind, specifically pertaining to LSU, is Bo Pelini as defensive coordinator. We saw early on that he's going to be a pressure mindset guy. Like, he's going to get after the quarterback as much as he can. Now, if you run into an air raid offense like that of Mike Leach's, you may find yourself down 600 and change passing yards because of what you're giving up coverage-wise, and it may get taken advantage of. Tough showing for Bo Pelini in his first outing as defensive coordinator for this LSU Tiger team. And so we're going to have to find a balance of what they're going to be able to do.
An important note that Derek Stingley Jr. did not play.
Absolutely.
And we want to make sure that we point that out. He was hospitalized, not for COVID-19, but for some sort of an unrelated illness. We don't have much more information than that as of right now. But that was obviously a big factor for them. But that wasn't such a big factor when you're talking about a new SEC passing record in yardage for one game, and that's what Mississippi State has done and what Costello has done for them. I mean, there's
we can't
no
just say
one
that's all Derek Stingley Jr. Yeah,
right, exactly. So when you ask the question of who the second best team is, I think we got a pretty strong answer to that today from the showing we got for Florida. I know that's not in the West, but really the most interesting thing to me is going to be the battle between Florida and Georgia, which is really going to come down to Georgia, which I think is a better roster, but doesn't have a quarterback that we know anything about. You know that program better than anybody as a fan. I think Georgia is one of the most difficult teams in the country to figure out right now.
I think it boils down to, again, that offense. What are they going to be able to put together week to week in the SEC? You got 10 games all against conference opponents. And what are you going to do at that quarterback position? JT Daniels, there's still a lot of question marks as to whether or not he's been cleared medically, let alone can he flow within this offense. We saw the backup options that they had, and Stetson Bennett, DeJuan Smith, Mathis.
Yes.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Blanked on that. But in any case, between those two, it's not necessarily the same level of productivity and not necessarily in the run game either. So what are they going to do both defensively and offensively to sort of reestablish themselves in that firm 2 slot?
And what's their identity going to be? Because DeJuan is you're talking about a 4-star recruit that is considered to be one of the dual threat athlete quarterbacks. That's very different than what Georgia's had of late. So you're talking about a much different approach. By the way, the LSU game has gone final. They have been beaten 44-34 is your final score.
In Death Valley.
And yeah,
by the way.
Big win for Coach Mike Leach. But, you start to look across the board, and, when you think about what we saw today, Auburn struggled at times with Kentucky, and there are moments, but Bo Nix giveth and Bo Nix taketh away, right? Like, there's good and bad from Bo Nix. And so I look at the West, and I'm having a hard time seeing who's going to compete with Alabama realistically. So then it becomes about the East, and the East is on the rise. Tennessee is going to be a very good team this year, and Florida is going to be great. And like we're talking, I think Georgia, even though they have question marks, are still going to be a very good football team. So I don't think it's easy.
Specifically, we saw that right off the rip. They will always come to play, especially under Coach Kirby Smart. Also, I want to kind of pull in Bama into the conversation, though, because we've seen at least tape of Mac Jones at the quarterback position. We know Najee Harris is still there as far as an offense goes. But what we've always become accustomed to from Alabama is the ability to reload defensively. And that's a question mark here this season. And let's not act like they didn't lose the best wide receiving core in Jerry Jeudy and like all the other guys that they had leave for the draft. Who is Mac Jones going to end up throwing to?
You left out one guy. His name's Ruggs. I don't know if you've ever
Henry.
heard. He plays for a small team I don't know if you've ever heard of out in Vegas. All right. No, but my excitement level is too high. I get that.
Never.
But there is a real question. I think you asked a good question. One thing, though, about the defense, stocking back up. Last year, we knew going into the year that linebacker was going to be a position of weakness for Alabama. And when we talked to Nick Saban right before the season last summer, he said the one thing I can't afford are injuries at the linebacker. Then they lost all their starting linebackers. So they had to play some young guys that got a lot of good experience and turned out to be, by the end of the year, very good players. At the same time, those injured players come back, and the guys like Mosley came back and didn't go to the draft. So a position of weakness last year has become a position of strength. I genuinely think the linebacker position specifically is going to give them so much versatility and depth because of the way they cycle people in. I think Alabama's defense is going to be able to survive a little bit while they figure out exactly what they need on some of the other positions. But you're right, offensively, there's a million question marks. We just presume that they're going to figure it out. And that's not necessarily a fair presumption. I think right now, benefit of the doubt, I give to Bama. But let's remember, they're coming off a 2-loss year, which, because we twist everything to the positive, is like, well, that's why they're going to be hungry. Or it's why they didn't play as well last year as they should have.
No doubt about that. This is the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. Okay, so Texas Tech, right? We all remember just the madness that was maybe Michael Crabtree when he scored on that overtime touchdown, right? Another one of your boys from the Raiders. Let me just tell you, it's 56-56 right now with 9 seconds left. I don't know it's the end of the fourth. We're going into overtime. I'm being updated in real time, as you can hear in my voice. Sam Ehlinger, 4 touchdowns on the day. Tack on a rushing touchdown as well. Alan Bowman clowning 5 touchdowns. This is the Big 12 that I think we're used to seeing. Just a whole lot of points, not a whole lot of defense, and it just makes sense. Welcome back, Big 12.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff.
Jason! Jason!
Look at that. Look at those graphics.
How about that?
Hey, we got to give a big shout out. I messed up my shirt for that one. I was so excited. Caroline Fenton did a great job creating that graphic. I'm taking the rest of the show off. Like, I don't know. I'm
even though like they built the front end for you, you just go take the rest.
Well, it looks so good. I'm gonna gloat. Like that's
part of it. I think you
look, act like you've been there before. I've never been here. Like let's go for it. All right. So we're gonna do this every week. It's never too early to really just make you guys mad. So we're gonna give you the top 5. This is my top 5 today. If I were on the playoff committee, I'm giving you Clemson at number 1. Why? Because we've seen them play. Ohio State at number 2. Why? Because I saw them play last year, and I think they're going to end up being the best team in all the land. Number 3, Alabama. We just talked a lot about Alabama. I'm not sure I have Bama at 3 because I love Alabama or because I don't see enough everywhere else that I love yet. Number 4 at Florida because I have recency bias, and what I saw today was a straight-up butt whooping by the Gators. And number 5, we're always going to give you 5, the first one out, right? Like, I love that. Just to, again, fire y'all up. First one out, your dogs. How you feel about that?
I want them lower because I don't like high expectations. That is all I have to, like, I don't mind this ranking whatsoever. I just think it's so weird to have to rank teams, especially those that haven't played necessarily yet. Alabama currently up 14-0 on Missouri. That is on ESPN. You can also check out Florida State and Miami that just kicked off on ABC. Make sure you log in into your cable providers, authenticate that you can watch along with us as we enjoy the college football show presented by AT&T 5G. Treavor Scales, Jason Fitz with you. And so now we get to get into the fun stuff, and that begins with holy cow. We headed to the farm. We got some top plays for that behind, and we're going to have some enjoyment here. Fitz, you ready to get it cracking?
Let's go.
Okay.
We show the plays, we rate them, and we argue.
Yes, typically because Jason overscored stuff. But Ole Miss, the double pass here, a little gadget play to start things off. Dontario Drummond, also like the pump fake is what got me. Like you on the double pass, you got all the confidence in the world to pull off a pump fake, and not just a half behind one, but like full-fledged, go through the full motion, man. I scored that one easy, 83 because it didn't go for 6. But like I like the concept. Shout out Lane and the powder blue uniforms. All of that kind of comes into play.
Yeah, well, I think maybe a little bit of pity score. I mean, it was good. But double passes are so like in this year. I don't know. I'm not impressed. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, too many of them. Let's go to the next one. I'm going to score this one. I've been really tough this year. All right, but Bo Nix, you saw this earlier. The fade to Seth Williams reaches over to the defender, who's obviously just trying to get in a good hug, and still brings down that touchdown. And then, bam, knocks over somebody in the celebration. I hope everybody's okay in this. But it's really this moment right here where he says, get off of me. You don't even belong on my field. It is that level of swagger that gives me my highest rating of the year. It's a 90.
Okay. I can understand that because, again, there was a lot going on there, and there was a whole lot of good. So I can appreciate that scoring. I'm not going to knock you, just like unlike you hating on me for some reason.
Well, I'm going to hate on you after this because we got a running back play coming next. Yeah. You always give running backs too much love.
Too much? I mean, I thought I was harsh on this one. Syracuse running back Sean Tucker, 38-yard score. Everybody else thought he was down, and he just kept on trucking along. I think it's a fair assessment.
Can we see the replay here?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, my God.
And look how close this is. It might be a situation where we couldn't necessarily overturn it. I don't know how close if he did not touch his knee down.
Like, look, no, that knee's not down. When you defy gravity, when you're like, gravity doesn't count on this field.
But also, we can't just celebrate him. We have to also critique the fact that defense just stopped playing. So that's why I gave it a 77. I'm like,
oh, my God.
Come on, bro. Like, y'all got to be on top of it better than that. Like, we can't just sit here and give him free scores.
We've got such great people that work on this show. I hope they sneak in one of your old plays here just so we can see how you grade it.
We don't need to do all that. That's unnecessary.
All right, let's get to the next one here. This is Georgia Southern. Caleb Hood with the 28-yard touchdown, one-handed. It's the gloves. But then he got just thumped. I mean, just thumped with the hard hit. Look at this one up close. When you see him break, great speed there, great route. The little acceleration, holds on to the ball even though he got knocked up. And then all of a sudden, down. Holds on to the ball. That is a great play. But you know how I feel about wide receivers and one-handed catches because gloves are sticky. I only give it an 80.
You're a hater.
Would have been less if he,
I
mean, the hit gave it the extra 10 points.
Just the worst kind of person. Like, just to say that it's all because of a piece of equipment and not giving any sort of athletic achievement, acknowledgement to that. That's
You're wearing super glue on your hands.
That's hater behavior. I don't like it. Next clip. Defense. We showed this to you earlier from the Army game. Cincinnati trying to run the option, but my man, Jabari Moore steps right in between that, read it the whole way. But he's been studying film, and obviously it's not like Army has any shortage of practice against the option. Their offense runs it, so they were like, look, throw this at us if you want to.
How are you going to run the option against Army? Like, that's just...
Hey, that's exactly what they tried to do, and Jabari Moore was on top of the game. And what I love most about this is that he didn't just go for the smack, like he didn't go out to lay out the recipient of the lateral. He said, no, I'm going to make a heads-up play, and I'm going to go get this ball, and I'm going to take it back to the crib. So, yes, I'm giving that a 98.
I am shook. He didn't even catch. Like, if he'd have caught the lateral and moved it back, but he batted the lateral down.
How much more difficult it is to catch an oblong ball off the ground, off the bounce, and just stride in there?
Wouldn't have to know if he'd managed to just hold on to it in the first place. I mean,
this hater behavior I do not like. I do not approve of on my show. This is... No.
I mean, all right, let's go to the next one. I've had all the Bo Nix highlights today, I feel like, but we got another one. Bo Nix, drop him back here, hanging on for a second, and then look at this. Little kick, little roll.
How about that?
Comes down to the 2-yard line. Look at the form here, too. Like,
specialist.
I mean, he waited a second, and then he sort of like kicked it. Like, he didn't do the full-on kick. It was almost like when you're with your putter or whatever. Like, I gave it a 50.
Whoa.
A 50.
I mean, but like this man stepping out of his usual.
It's a punt.
It was pretty sweet.
It's a punt.
Inside the man, again, hater behavior.
Somebody else had to down. It's not like it spun by itself.
You know what? That's terrible. I'm gonna give you a chance to redeem yourself with this last play.
Okay, I'll get another one. All right. We're gonna go to Liberty here, and let's see this one. They extend the second half lead here. DJ Stubbs. Full extension.
That DB trying to say it was incomplete. You knew it wasn't incomplete.
Yeah. And it's really the celebration at the end, too, where he just gets up and does the big step. A little bit of a push-off there, though. Like, I mean...
That's just hand jive.
Arm fully extended. Look, I've seen grease. That's not hand jive. I give this one a 74. 74. I mean, it was good.
I have no bearing for what your rating system is. I don't know what you celebrate. I don't know what.
It was offensive pass interference and wide receiver gloves. I mean, it's a 74.
There's just no acknowledgement for the athletic feats, and I won't stand for it.
They were hands, not feet.
Dumb. He's the worst. He's the worst. That starts off, bro. Actually, that's so appropriate for what this segment is. It's just the worst stuff, the stuff that we looked at and couldn't muster up anything more than bruh. The first play of the day from this segment comes from Ole Miss. A.J. Finley intercepts the pass here, but we're not even hating on the interception. That happens, especially if you're chucking the ball all around the field. But these turnover, accoutrements are getting very out of hand. We now have a turnover money bag. And, that should probably just be used in a sack race and nothing else. I don't know why we're doing all that.
I mean, you are just begging the NCAA to start snooping around when you're just handing out money bags. You're like, hey, guys, pay no attention. Like, next time, they're just going to start throwing cash out? Like, I mean, you can't have a money bag on the sideline and not get somebody looking.
Yeah, you towing a line. You are definitely towing a line there as the Ole Miss Rebel program if you're going to bring a money bag out. Shout out Cole Kublik on the sideline of one of our SEC games, the Kentucky-Auburn game, and he's grubbing fried bacon on the sideline. Deep fried bacon, a delicacy. I will say that. Big fan of it. But
look at his lean.
Yeah.
Like, the most impressive thing about this is, frankly, that he's leaning forward to not get that bacon grease on that shirt.
It's like the Guy Fieri hunch.
Oh, yeah.
Like before he goes in for the sandwich. Shout out Food Network. But, that is...
But, I mean, if you're going to eat fried, if you're going to eat fried bacon on the sidelines, at least stand up while you do it. I mean, Cole, come on.
No, I can't hate him because, we like to look a certain type of way, maintain some, fashion integrity, and he trying to do that.
I mean, Cole's my guy, but I believe in him. I believe he can stand and eat bacon too.
No, you can't never be too careful. Terry Wilson, I'm sorry, bro, but you made it to bruh. Spin move was great, but you forgot the ball.
Yeah, see, when this happens on Madden, I just turn the game off, throw my controller. I'm like, the game's rigged today.
It's clearly.
Like, when I press the spin move and it's like the ball's just out, nobody touched it, it obviously means it's rigged.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know what's happening there.
No, you're absolutely right. And I can fully agree with that. Unfortunately for Terry, this wound up being like Kentucky had a chance to drive in on that specific drive and go up a score. And that wound up being sort of the difference maker for the Auburn Tigers, who then kind of went off on their roll and ended up winning that tilt.
Kentucky had a couple of different plays in that game that would have changed it drastically, so I'm not going to sleep on Kentucky even though they lost that game to Auburn.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Another unfortunate set of circumstances for a quarterback, Brock Purdy. This was not Purdy. I'm taking Jason Fitz's joke from earlier, and I have no shame in doing so because this was just so very much so warranted.
Wow. I mean, there's just a moment where you got to take the sack, right? Like, there's just what good comes there? You know,
right. Like I assure you, whatever you trying to get done there is worse off than you just taking that sack in that very moment. You just gotta be better.
I can't imagine what it feels like having a bunch of people drag me to the ground at once.
It's not great.
I understand that, but there also just has to be live to see another day out of that moment.
Correct.
Like, he knows better. Purdy knows better.
For sure. Yeah, last one. We going out on a high note, for me at least. I'm sorry to the Razorback fans. Double reverse, right? No. It winds up being 2 points for the wrong team. I was actually kind of upset that we didn't get 6 out of this. We being the Georgia Bulldogs. I wanted 6. They only got 2. Should have scored a touchdown.
No, this is just a very, very plainly, thinly veiled attempt for you to get another Georgia highlight into this show. I mean, I'm not even mad about it, though. Like, it is a spectacular effort by you. And
allow me to take the little wins, please, because I know they're going to break my heart eventually. We talked about this in week 1 of this show. Like, I know it's coming. Just let me have these moments where I get to celebrate just a little bit.
If there's anything that I've learned in working with Treavor, he is always the professional, but it is difficult at times because we are usually on as Georgia's wrapping up a game, so you never know if you're going to be good or bad out of that.
It's not kind of.
That's bruh.
It's just, yes, that was bruh. And now, again, we kind of take you on an emotional roller coaster on the College Football Show, presented by AT&T 5G. And this is now kind of to lift you up a little bit, lift your spirits. You love to see it. And it's just the time where we get to take to celebrate a certain something from the college football weekend. And I would love to know what you love to see this weekend.
I want everybody to try and listen to me with an open mind for a second, because I'm not going to give you any opinion here. And that's key to note. I'm going to talk about kids giving you an opinion. And there was so much conversation today about specifically the SEC and players that decided to kneel as the season began. And a lot of people have negative around that conversation. Now, this isn't about what you believe or what you think. This is about kids understanding that they can have power with the voice. Do you not want your kids, when they're passionate for something, to stand up for it? Do you not want your kids, when you believe in them and they believe in something, to feel like they can use their platform, whatever they do, however they do it, to speak to what they believe in? This isn't about what I believe. It's not about what Treavor believes. It's not about what you believe. It's about what these kids believe. And I want to live in a world, frankly, right now, more than ever, where the young generation is standing up and saying, I stand for something. And if that standing for something means kneeling for something, if they are using their power and using their voice to be heard because they care, because they believe, even if you don't agree with it, respect it. There is a trend in America right now that I am proud of, with the young generation that is standing, that is kneeling, and that is speaking for what they believe in. Ask yourself, if it was your child, would you want them to have that freedom? I think if you ask that question, you might be treating those kids a little bit differently today.
I think a lot of the conversation when we started to get back to playing college football became, let's listen to the players. And I just want to make sure that that energy is maintained when all of these sorts of statements are being made.
Especially when we don't agree. We may not always agree with everything everybody says. That's not what America's about. We don't always have to agree with everything everybody says. But we have to agree with the ability to talk about it.
Without question. Just listen. So my you love to see it moment came from that Kentucky program. And Chris Oates was diagnosed with an undisclosed medical condition back in May. Number 22 for the Kentucky Wildcat program. In honor of him, in order to celebrate his well-being as much as they possibly can and to let them know that they are with Chris Oates in every step to his recovery, Kentucky has decided to change the number 22 to different members of that roster on a week-to-week basis. It began with fellow inside linebacker DeAndre Square, who wore the number 22 on Sunday against Auburn, and then it will shift to his tight end roommate next week. And this is just one thing to celebrate amidst many for all of college football, and really just hoping the very best for Chris Oates as they try to do a little something to celebrate him.
Absolutely a beautiful moment. That is, you love to see it. We do that every week to give you a little bit of positivity. We are positive that Texas has come to a close. We've got the highlight right here. This game was in overtime, tied at 56.
Sam Ehlinger, another touchdown, this one through the air. Shout out to him for finding the receiver there. And as overtime goes, Texas Tech got a shot. Bowman out on the swing pass.
Oh, God, that is such a heartbreaking
fumble,
way to lose the game for them.
Recovery, ball game. Tom Herman and the Texas Longhorns move to 2-0. Sam Ehlinger, again, quite the day. 6 total touchdowns, 5 through the air, 1 on the ground. Alan Bowman, nothing to sneeze at, if you will. 325 yards through the air, 5 touchdowns for him.
Keep an eye on Ehlinger the course of this year. He's not going away in the Heisman conversation as this year goes on.
Without question.
Big win for Texas, 63-56.
Sid, I'm going to break down the fourth wall. You got to tell me what's up next, baby.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Our time is up. Yeah, hey, this is what makes it great.
That's what the game is. I just wanted to make sure we were saying goodbye. I ain't going to lie to y'all. I had no idea what we were going to come out to.
This is where you're supposed to stick around. Make sure you've authenticated. You can watch the game right now on ABC. He's Treavor Scales. I'm Jason Fitz. We're with you every single weekend from 7 to 8 p.m. Tell your friends, your family, your enemies. Tell everybody. Just come hang out with us.
Come through. Kick it for a good hour on a Saturday. And then also 11 p.m. Eastern on all the screens that I mentioned before. Facebook, YouTube Live, Twitter, and the ESPN app. The wrap-up, myself, Christine Williamson, Gary Streisky, we all kind of take a different approach to all the happenings in college football. It's a lot of fun. Make sure you join us, and we'll see y'all next week. Be easy.